Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely reframe how you understand the biblical tabernacle. You know, if you've ever read through the book of Exodus, it's pretty easy to just picture the tabernacle as this dusty desert tent, right? Just a portable worship structure with a frankly exhausting list of building instructions. But today, we're going to dive into the scholarly and historical context to see it for what it truly was. It's a divine rescue mission, a cosmic blueprint, and the ultimate staging ground for the creator of the universe to actually dwell among humanity. Let's get into it.
Here's how we'll be decoding this divine blueprint today. 1. The crisis of presence. 2. Yahweh's royal war tent. 3. A regulated return to Eden. 4. The mercy seat. 5. The word-pitched tent. And 6. The eternal Holy of Holies.
Okay, Section 1, the crisis of presence. How exactly can a holy God dwell with sinful people?
So to really understand this, we need to start by looking at the timeline, because it uncovers the central theological crisis of the entire Exodus narrative. Think about it. How can an infinitely holy God dwell in immediate, close-up proximity to broken, sinful humanity without literally consuming them? It's a huge mystery. Why on earth would the infinite creator ask Israel to build him a physical tent in the wilderness? And more importantly, why did he ask for it only after they were already saved?
When we lay out the timeline, it becomes crystal clear. Yahweh redeemed Israel from Egypt, he completely defeated the gods of Egypt, and brought them safely through the Red Sea purely on his own initiative. The command to actually build the tabernacle, well, that comes much later. The tabernacle was the response to redemption, not the cause of it. Israel didn't build this sanctuary to somehow earn their salvation. They built it because Yahweh had already redeemed them. But of course, bringing a holy God into the camp created a massive existential crisis of proximity.
To resolve this unbelievable tension, the biblical text uses two distinct Hebrew words to describe the structure. First, it's called a mikdash, which translates to a sanctuary or a holy place. This specific word emphasizes strict, non-negotiable boundaries. It's all about utter separation from the mundane, absolute purity, and absolute holiness. It's a constant reminder of God's completely transcendent nature.
But then, brilliantly, the text also calls it a mishkan, meaning a dwelling place. And this word comes from a root that literally means to pitch a tent. So on one hand, you have transcendent holiness, but on the other, you have this dynamic, incredibly intimate desire from Yahweh to settle down right in the middle of Israel's camp. He wanted to travel right alongside them through the dirt and the trials of the wilderness.
Moving to Section 2, Yahweh's royal war tent, the divine warrior king.
Now this is where it gets wild. This structure was an undeniable visual statement to the ancient world. There's a striking historical parallel between Israel's camp and the ancient Near Eastern military camps of the late Bronze Age. When you put Israel's camp side by side with the military war tent of Pharaoh Ramesses II, the similarities are staggering. They both have an eastward orientation, they both use a precise 2-to-1 rectangular ratio, they both have a 4-troop division surrounding the center and, crucially, a royal tent right in the middle. This was absolutely not an accident. The biblical authors are very intentionally casting Yahweh as Israel's divine warrior king, commanding his forces right from his royal headquarters.
Section 3, a regulated return to Eden, the heavenly pattern.
But we can't stop at the military comparison, because this structure was deeply cosmic. In Exodus 25, Moses wasn't just handed a mundane list of building materials, he was strictly commanded to build everything exactly according to the Tabernacle, a Hebrew word that means the heavenly pattern or blueprint. So this earthly tent was actually a material replica. It was a physical shadow pointing directly to God's true heavenly throne room.
And this earthly shadow brilliantly illustrates how the tabernacle operated as a microcosm of creation. Basically a regulated return to the Garden of Eden. Just look at these connections. First off, both Eden and the tabernacle faced east. Second, access to both was guarded by cherubim. Third, the golden menorah, which was beautifully designed with almond blossoms, visually recalled the tree of life. And finally, get this. Adam's original call to cultivate and keep the garden, it uses the exact same Hebrew verbs as the priest's calling to serve and guard the tabernacle. We can actually map this Edenic microcosm straight across the tabernacle's 3 architectural zones. The outer court represented the visible earth and sea. Stepping inside to the holy place represented entering the heavens, illuminated by that menorah. And finally, stepping into the most holy place represented stepping out of the visible world entirely, straight into Yahweh's invisible heavenly throne room.
Section 4, the mercy seat, where justice meets mercy.
Which brings us to the very center of the tabernacle. Remember that crisis of presence?
Because Yahweh is completely holy and humanity is sinful, approaching this center required incredibly strict mediation. We're talking priesthood, blood, and rigid purity boundaries. This whole system reached its absolute peak on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, when the high priest entered the Holy of Holies carrying the blood of a substitute animal.
Once inside that final room, the high priest would approach the Kipporet, what we call the mercy seat. This was the solid gold cover of the Ark of the Covenant, heavily guarded by the sculpted wings of the cherubim, and it was right upon this golden surface that the substitutionary blood was sprinkled.
Now here is the crucial point, this incredibly powerful visual theology. Inside the ark rested the broken tablets of the law, standing there as a constant, silent witness of divine justice against Israel's sin. But right above it, literally covering it on the mercy seat, rested the substitutionary blood. The Kipporet was the exact pinpoint location where divine justice and covenant mercy perfectly collided to make atonement for the people.
Section 5. The word pitched a tent, the ultimate fulfillment.
Yet, for all its glory, the entire earthly tabernacle system was just a temporary shadow. It was a portable prophecy, if you will, pointing forward to a definitive living sanctuary. This ultimate heavenly blueprint literally crashes into human history in the New Testament with a massive, game-changing declaration about Messiah Yeshua. The Gospel of John states, "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us."
The specific Greek word John uses here for dwelt is skanuo, and it literally means to pitch a tent or to tabernacle. The biblical text is explicitly telling us that the eternal Creator didn't just casually visit humanity from afar. No, He pitched His tent in human flesh right down in the dirt among us. The divine glory that was once totally concealed behind the thick veil of the tabernacle was now walking around, healing people and speaking.
And as the book of Hebrews beautifully outlines, Yeshua fulfills the ancient shadow entirely. He acts as the ultimate high priest, entering the greater heavenly tabernacle. But he doesn't do it with the blood of goats or calves. He offers his own blood. He himself is presented as the true mercy seat, a profound connection explicitly made in Romans 3:25. He perfectly satisfies justice and secures eternal redemption once and for all.
Finally, Section 6. The eternal Holy of Holies, the cosmic consummation.
So let's look at the grand finale of this whole biblical storyline, tracking this sanctuary theme from Eden all the way to the end of the cosmos. In Revelation chapter 21, the new creation is depicted as the New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven. And its architectural dimensions, they are stunning. It is described as a single perfect cube. Now, in the ancient biblical world, there was only one room that was ever a perfect cube, the Holy of Holies. This shows us that the entire renewed creation ultimately becomes the Holy of Holies, the dwelling place of Yahweh.
John literally hears a loud voice declaring, "Behold, the tabernacle of God is among men." There is no physical temple building in this new city. Why? Because the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. All the old boundaries, the veils, the separation, they are completely removed forever.
The entire narrative of the tabernacle proves one absolutely beautiful truth. Yahweh refuses to remain distant from us. He is the ultimate Emmanuel, God with us. He pitched His tent in the wilderness, and ultimately He pitched His tent in human flesh, all to completely bridge the gap between holy justice and divine mercy. He came down into the dirt just to bring us back home to Eden. Which really leaves us with one final, profound question. Will you dwell with Him?